Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. This is a weekly podcast about the future of data-driven marketing. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm founder of Automated Creative, the creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And this is a weekly podcast where I interview one of our industry's leaders about the future of data-driven marketing. This week is no different. I'm on a call with Sneha Mittal. And Sneha is the Senior Communications Manager at Philips. So, Sneha, for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what you do, could you give us a brief background?
Yes, absolutely. So, hi everyone. I'm glad to be on the show. And I work currently as Senior Communications Manager, while I have a wealth of experience in marketing. So, I've worked across digital marketing, across sales, across account management, product management, across sales enablement, and so on and so forth. So, I've worked really across the whole spectrum of marketing. And currently, I'm leading communications and branding for a business unit called Image Guided Therapy, and I have a background which is technical background. So I also have an electronics and telecom engineering degree, which again brings my passion towards technology. And originally from India, I've been based in the Netherlands for the last 10 years or so. And I have worked across industries. So I currently work in healthcare, but I've also worked across SaaS solutions, across manufacturing, IT, telecommunications. So really across the whole spectrum.
Wow, what creds. You've created a very high level of expectation from me for this podcast. So thank you. So before we get into your shiny new object, just a couple of questions. What has been your best investment of your own time, energy, and money in your own career in the last few years?
So I think I would bring it back to maybe my college years, where one thing that really stuck with me during my MBA with one of the teachers who said was, you really focus on becoming a better version of yourself every day. And in the last 10 years, I think that has really stuck with me. So I think it's around constant learning and investing in myself. So really investing in myself, my own mental health, my growth, and continuously learning and improving. May it be like a delta every day. So yeah, I think for me that has been a constant source of motivation. So I come from a very different background. So I started out as an engineer, and during this time I also started blogging because I loved food, I loved going out. I started writing a lot of reviews, and that quickly picked up because digital marketing was picking up at that point of time. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. I could enjoy really like free food every day and going to events and attending parties, whatnot. And I thought it was really fancy. And while I really enjoyed, of course, programming as well, thought I wanted to do something more that is closer to marketing. And at that point of time, when I was in my early 20s, I was also working with a lot of startups because digital marketing was picking up at that point of time. And I thought, hey, I know that this thing is going to be big at some point of time. Let's start learning. And how can I learn if I can kind of volunteer myself for free for some of the startups that, yeah, give me the responsibility. I'm going to work for you. So I did get to work with a lot of different startups who were just starting out at that point of time and learned digital marketing, which got me then into the field of marketing. And since then, I have continuously evolved and learned. So starting out in sales, I learned like, okay, how do you be more customer centric? When I started out, of course, at that point of time, the sales and marketing teams were very disconnected. And being in sales, I think that again stuck with me. And I thought, well, if I ever go into marketing and when I become really a marketer, I want to make sure that I just don't do really like high level marketing with like really fancy creatives and really fancy words, but more focus on how can we make a difference to our consumers. So again, continuously on that learning path. And as I grew, I moved across fields, working across different roles. And I think learning the different traits of the game, different tools, I also continuously invested in myself. So again, a little bit going back to my own experience, when I moved to the Netherlands from India, I had this list of 20 digital marketing courses that I wanted to invest my time on because, of course, I was moving to a new country. I didn't know if I would find a job or not, and I didn't know like how much time would it take for me, and I didn't also know what I would do with my free time. So I created a plan to again invest in myself, invest in my own learning, invest in my own growth, and I ended up finding a job in digital marketing, which again was something that I had not really worked on professionally, but because I continued to learn and continue to invest in myself, I landed up a role where I could really do digital marketing as a daily part of my job. And same now, I'm in a communications role and I don't have a communications sort of background, which is again a new territory for me. So I'm continuously also learning and improving and saying, like, okay, what does communications mean? What do I really need to do? Who is my audience? And how do I continue to again also learn the tools and technology to help do my job better, help deliver better outcomes? So I think one thing that has stuck with me is learning and investing in yourself. And again, it's not about any specific tool, it's not about any specific technologies, because those can change, right? And especially in today's fast evolving environment, um, continuously building capacity to really absorb and also pivot your strategies is really, I think, what's crucial for success. So this investment in my own mindset and building my own learning agility, I think, has been really an investment that has been worthwhile.
So, what advice do you have for data driven marketers specifically? What is that one bit of advice that you maybe picked up recently or a long time ago that you always find yourself sharing because you know it works?
So I think for me, it has been more about storytelling. So I know, of course, that now with so much wealth of data that we have, there's one story that the data tells. Then there's the qualitative aspect where, there are certain nuances of what's happening within the organization, what's happening on a macroeconomic level, what's happening within your own domain, how it's changing and how it's improving. So really, I think for me, the advice would be focus on storytelling skills, because that's really important. And when I say storytelling, I think something that I picked up from my previous manager was, when you do storytelling, don't just tell a story that's like really beautiful. Focus on, like, what? Okay, what is it that you're doing? So what? How does it make a difference? And then now what? And I think that framework has really stuck with me, because whenever I try to write something and whenever I'm creating new content, I always try to think, well, I did something that is great and these are the results out of it. Now what? Now, what is it that I expect the reader or whoever is my audience? What do I expect them to do with that data? What does this mean for them? Because, of course, you work with a lot of different stakeholders, right? So, what it might mean to me could mean completely different to you. So, really, like, if you focus on the storytelling from the perspective of your stakeholders, I think that really goes a long way in creating an impact for the work that you're doing, and also helps the other person to understand what is it that you're doing, why is it that you're doing, and also then why should they care, why should it matter to them, what difference does it make that you're doing something great, you did a great campaign, well, that's great, but what does it matter to me, right? So tell me, like, yes, I did an event, this is what came out of it, here are the leads, and then this is why you should care, because this will help you deliver on your goals, right? So really speaking their language and focusing not just on the numbers itself but the overall story is something that's really important, in my opinion.
What? So what? Now what? I'm going to steal that. Brilliant. Right. So now we are going to talk about your shiny new object. And your shiny object, I can't even say the name of my own show. Your shiny new object is AI for content creation. That's pretty big. That's a big old topic. So why have you chosen that as your shiny new object, and why is that important to the future of data driven marketing, do you think?
So I think a couple of different things. So you see that I come from a technology background, right? I was an engineer before, and yes, I've worked across marketing, but I'm totally new to communications. And for me, change is really exciting. I always love change. And coming into communications role, I was super excited that I could bring all this kind of knowledge of AI into my day-to-day work. And what you see really in your daily life is it has really, like, AI within content creation, it has really empowered a lot of people to have a little bit more of an outlet for their voice, right? So sometimes if you want to say something and you're not sure what you want to do, you can really go into a tool. You can say, like, hey, these are my thoughts, these are scattered all over, and it does a really good job at structuring your thoughts and focusing it in the right direction. So I think when I say AI in content creation, I think it really helps you structure your thoughts and focus on what you want to say. So if you look at it from an internal organizational perspective, that means a lot of the people who were doing a lot of things and didn't know where to talk about it, now they could dump all of these thoughts into a chat GPT or into Claude or whatever tool you're using, and then have it spit out into a content that is really understandable to the broader audience as well. So it has really empowered a lot of people to bring out their voice, to bring out their thoughts which previously they wouldn't have the time to do it. And if I look at it from a different perspective, from my own perspective, I work with a lot of different leaders, and we have these custom GPTs that we have created to speak their voice. And for example, one of the leaders, I've probably met him once, and I create content on his behalf. And well, I wouldn't know what he would say, right? Because I've met him once. I don't know him enough to know what his voice is, what his thoughts are. But AI can really help me understand the nuances of, okay, this is kind of the tone, this is the structure. And again, it does not do a perfect job of imitating exactly what we would say as humans, but I think it does a good job at looking at the structure of how their communications would be like, and helping me do a better job in creating content or creating PR press releases or creating internal content that would be much closer to the leaders' voices. And same for myself, because when I write something on LinkedIn, I'm like, okay, I have a lot of thoughts. I have done a lot of research. I have heard a lot of different things from different people, but I wouldn't know how to structure this. And when I go into ChatGPT or when I go into one of these tools, I can really like dump all my thoughts, and that this is what I'm thinking, this is what I learned, this is what I would expect. It does a really great job of structuring those thoughts and also putting the right words across it. So I think it really has the power to transform also a lot of people's life within the organization, but also outside, to be able to express a little bit better than what they would have been able to do before. So I think that that really, for me, is my new shiny object.
I have really strong opinions on this, right? So that is exactly the way that I'm using AI at the minute for my own like B2B comms, like founder content and so on. I'm also using a tool called Whisperflow, which means you don't have to type, and so I can just Whisperflow a random like, well, I want to write a post about this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, but is that important? Should I put that in? And you don't even have to type, you don't construct anything. And then you get this huge prompt and you throw that in, and then it comes back to you. And hopefully what I'm doing there is producing something good. It's definitely quicker. Is it better? I don't know.
Exactly.
And I think before AI, LinkedIn, everyone had the same tone of voice, right? Do you know what I mean? You could put your hand over the logo, and it could, like, it didn't matter if it was Innocent Smoothies or Nike. Do you know what I mean? It was just like no one. Like the whole point of B2B marketing is not to offend anyone. Do you know what I mean? You just like, because you never know where the money's going to come from, right? So you're just like, well, if I don't offend anyone, then I'm not going to cut off that income. But in reality, if you don't take a stand, then you're never going to cut through to the people who want to listen to you. Right? You know this better than anyone. So that kind of LinkedIn blandness, I think, has been replaced by AI blandness, right? And I think that it's definitely saving me time. I can do more, but is it better? Because to your point about your earlier question was, I want to invest in myself to become better, and my worry is AI is making us quicker but not better.
I have to admit that I've asked that question a lot to myself as well, right? Because I work in communications, and sometimes, like especially when I started out, I was like, okay, I don't know. I think I'm wasting more time putting my thoughts into this and talking and fussing about one sentence, and that it should be in a different structure, in a different format, in a different language. Maybe I don't like this word. And I think at one point of time, I got really frustrated because I thought, like, this is not saving me time. It's really taking more time for me to create content than to really like help use AI to do my job better. And I have to admit that I also talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of my folks who were using AI, my colleagues within the industry, outside the industry. And I think one thing that I learned from that experience was, if you start with the goal, with the outcome in mind, use it as a tool to help you take out that creative ability. It does not replace your creative ability, but it does help you get to the outcome faster. Only if you know what the outcome is. What is it that you're looking for, and what is it that you want to achieve? So if you just kind of say, like, okay, go in and put in all these thoughts, but I don't know how in the end it should look like, yes, you can go really down the rabbit hole of looking into the finer details and not getting to where you want to be. But if you really focus on, okay, this is what I want to achieve, and this is where it could help, this is where I can brainstorm with it, this is where it can help me feed in creative ideas. I use it a lot for feedback. Like sometimes I write something on my own. I'm just like shutting off my laptop and everything else, and I'm writing for 2 hours. And in the end, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I go in there and I say, like, give me critical feedback and give me suggestions. And I think that's a great way, because previously I wouldn't have been able to do that, because I would only rely on somebody who would come on the next day, look through it, and they have their own opinions. And of course, AI has its own opinion. It's trained on a data set. So I do think it can help in easing that process if you know to use it as a tool and not use it as a means to achieve the outcome. So I think that's really important distinction to understand, because I feel like a lot of people also now feel, well, I can do so much more, but if you don't know what is it that you want to do, it will not help you in getting where you want to be.
So two things I'd love to get your perspective on. So I was posting about AI and creativity, and I was chatting to someone, and one of the things I said that I was like, oh, maybe I should like think a bit more about that, is that I find like generative AI is a bit like fake plants.
Yeah.
You walk into a room, you're like, oh, this is nice, and then like immediately, without really thinking about it, you're like, your brain is like, no, and like, but yeah, they're efficient. You don't have to water them; they last forever. They always look like plants. Then you can have any color and size you want, but they're not plants, right? Whereas you walk into a room and someone's like beautifully looked after all of these living organisms, it makes you feel that. And so that's the kind of first thing. And then Amy Wright, who was telling me about LinkedIn post that she'd read, so very much third hand, was someone said something along the lines of, I never used to really believe that in the soul. I always thought it was a bit fluffy. But when you see AI generated work, you can see the soul missing.
Absolutely.
And actually, like the absence of that thing is so obvious once you've seen enough of it. It's soulless.
Yes.
So I'm really torn. Like, I love these tools. They save me time. I can do more work. Is it better work? But then again, all of my competitors, they've all have the same efficiency. We can all do the same tricks. It's so easy. There's no intelligence involved. It's just like, oh, press this button and use Whisperflow, dump it into ChatGPT. Like, anyone can do it. You'd be mad not to.
Yeah.
But is the output this kind of soulless stuff? It's like a parlor trick that we're all getting obsessed by. So how do data-driven marketers do something special with it? Not just save time, not just have it like a sparring partner, not just creating fake plants fundamentally. Like what is the skill that isn't just something you can click your fingers and do? What is the kind of long-term muscle that you can build with this stuff? Where do you want to get to? Because you're an ambitious self-improver. Yeah, you said earlier.
Yeah.
Where do you want to get to with this stuff?
Yeah. So I think I definitely agree, because like when you say, I think AI is now like the internet, right? So it's not a competitive advantage if you're using ChatGPT to create something which is like, oh, I'm using this fancy tool. Probably 2 years ago when it was just launched, yes, it was something different. And I've also felt like, I think with creativity, you also need to find your own space, because I think now with AI doing so much more, for me, myself, like my own personal perspective is, I found more ideas when I walk into the office and talk to a lot of people. So rather than sitting on my laptop all day and thinking like, yeah, I should do this, I should write this, I think if I look from a data driven marketer's perspective, focus on building connections, building your own creativity, spending time with yourself, and not just fussing with specific tools. So I know these tools would come and go, it would evolve into something different. And yes, again, with coming back to what I said earlier, it's not a means to the end. It's your creative partner. And I think how I would use it is like, okay, yes, maybe to give you a very concrete example, I wanted to write something around the World Heart Day, and I had not done something around World Heart Day before. I had no idea what it is about. I used one of the tools to find out and do a deep research on, okay, what does World Heart Day mean? Why should I care? Why should it matter to anybody else? That's where I used it as my partner, instead of like, just give me everything and give me a post on World Heart Day. So I think this is where you partner up in different stages of your own creative process, right? So when think back into time when AI was not there, how would you write a blog post? How would you create a new piece of content? You think of an idea, or you would talked to somebody and you thought like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, maybe I should write about it, maybe I should talk about it on my blog. You would probably go on the internet, you would find out like, okay, what is it that other people are talking about, what is it that's my opinion, what is it that's my view. You go in there, you write something, you like it, like one part of it, you don't like one part of it, you go back and you kind of do a little bit of revisions, and then you come towards like this end post where you go in there and you post something, right? And with AI becoming that new internet, or just being everywhere, you could do that as well, right? Also with a LinkedIn post, you could just go in there, yeah, well, I have this topic, give me a 800-word essay about it, and I'll post it on my blog post. But that's also the soulless content, like you said, because AI creates that. But instead, if I use AI in saying like, okay, can you help me do a research around this? And then you have a question. Hey, can you help me find out more about this, more about that topic? Can you give me different perspectives? Can you question me on what I'm thinking? Can you give me a completely 360-degree view of what I'm thinking? Because that also challenges my own thinking. And I think for especially the new age of data driven marketers, where AI is just a part of their work from the beginning, I think it would also be a little bit difficult, because if you've not gone through the hard process of doing this on your own without AI, you also probably struggle a bit, because you're like, yeah, why do I need to do the whole job? I could just ask AI to create something. But that's also the soulless type of content. And that's where we probably need to find the balance as we get more and more of these tools and more the technology progresses, as to how we use it as a creative partner rather than using it as a replacement for the work that we are doing. Does that help answer your question?
And that's a beautiful way to end the podcast. I wish we could continue, but we've unfortunately run out of time. So, Sneha, if anyone wants to get in touch with you about anything we've discussed today, where is a good place to do that? And crucially, what makes a message that you'll actually reply to?
Just say, hey, I want to talk, and reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am available at Sneha Mittal on LinkedIn. If you search for me, I would love to connect. Just write the message, and yeah, I would be happy to accept.
Sneha, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time, Tom. Really glad to be here.